here doing the Survivor Season 31 Second Chance Episode 7. What episode was this? The Merge. Crazy. So my name is Rachel.
And I'm Alyssa. Thank you all for commenting and subscribing and watching our videos. We're really excited about the fact that our number of subscribers keeps going up. And
yeah, thanks so much, guys. So I guess we'll start with, we thought it was so weird during the episode that they didn't do like the scene where they picked the tribe name and painted the tribe flag, but Survivor on CBS posted a secret scene talking about that, and it's ORKUN in the native language in Cambodia there, which I thought it was like ORKUN. It sounded like a cool elf, an elf name.
But so ORKUN means thank you in the native language of Cambodia, and so they chose it as a way to thank the fans for voting them back on, and thank the fans for giving them a second chance, and just thank the universe, I guess, for giving them a second chance. Because yeah, it's a season about second chances, and I feel like they're really being grateful about that. So one thing that Rachel and I were talking about as the episode was going on was Steven was randomly like, let me tell you a poem. And so I was thinking that maybe the name of the merged tribe would have been in Steven's poem, but that wasn't the way it played out. Kimmy came up with the name ORKUN, and everyone was like, okay, just because they didn't have any other ideas, so.
Yeah, it was so weird that this wasn't included, because usually painting the tribe flag, picking the name is included in the episode, and the name that they decided to pick, Kimmy's idea, it really fits with the theme of this season, so it's so weird that they didn't stick it in. Maybe because Kimmy thought about it, and Kimmy doesn't get any confessionals, so they just outed that one.
I think part of it is also, well, part of the reason I'm disappointed they didn't show it is because, some of the names are kind of, self-explanatory, when they just shove the tribe names together to make a, portmanteau type thing, like Chibobamogo. But ORKUN wasn't really oh yeah, I totally know what that means.
Yeah. Now people are gonna think it's ORKUN, like us like us over here.
So
and then,
PSA, guys, it's pronounced ORKUN, right? ORKUN.
Yeah, it's so much better than Murica from last season, so it's I'm disappointed they didn't show it. Very sad.
Well, anyways, now that we've got the name out of the way, the actual merge, this was the largest merge in Survivor history. There were
13
tons of people, which means a ton of relationships, and the 3 different tribes that they all went to means that there's tons of tribal lines that have been drawn, and tons of alliances that have been made, and obviously not everyone can be loyal to all of their alliances, because that's just not the way it works.
Yeah, there's so many layers, so many players, so many different relationships, layers, players, something else that rhymes. There's just so many different things.
Players. Ooh.
The Dragon Slayer coach.
Yeah, I don't think he's coming back. He's been on, what, 3 times already?
Yeah.
But
the merge feast looked very yummy. They had a lot of good foods, and in one of Jeremy's secret scenes, it was he said that he hasn't eaten in all of the 16 days so far, so the merge feast was good for them. They were all keeping eyes out on each other, are there secret hidden immunity idol clues in the feast? Last season, Joe found it in the drinking bottle while on a reward challenge. So everyone was who's sitting next to each other, who's chit-chatting, and then once the feast ended, it was game on.
there seemed to be a lot of conversations being had, just reaching out feelers about who was with who. Cass and Tasha were obviously talking to each other about the alliances that Tasha had, and it was really complicated, I think, because there were so many different tribes, and I don't feel like they'd be able to keep track of it. I can't even keep track of it, and I can just Google who was on what tribe. So
yeah, So everyone was talking about how like it was so iconic to make the merge. You know, it's like one step in their goal of actually winning the game. So good for Kelly Wentworth, Savage, and Kimmy. They didn't make the merge their first season, and now they made the merge this season. So that's kudos to them.
To
Good
be
for
fair,
them.
this merge was much larger, so if
Yeah,
they get voted out within the next like 3 votes,
that's
technically
true.
that would
I
have been
know.
like pre-merge. Still,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna rain on their parade. Good job, you guys.
Yeah, who would have thought Spencer and Joe, two big challenge beasts. They're both smart, you know, that they're in the middle, like swing votes this episode.
I think that it's really interesting because a lot of the times the swings aren't the ones who get voted off because everyone just wants them on their side. Like there have been a couple of times where swings have been voted off out of the virtue of the fact that they make too big of a deal about the fact that they were swings. But like Joe and Spencer realized it and then they didn't really like flaunt it to everyone, which is what is really dangerous when you're a swing. I think we talked about that earlier this month or this season about swing votes and stuff, but I don't think I've ever seen like a really strong alpha male type as the swing.
Yeah, it's so weird. And Abby flipped on Tasha this time, I guess. You know, that's another one of her flippy floppies. And it was so weird. Like Spencer saying hashtag Joe language, like talking down to Joe. But I didn't think Joe was that dumb. Maybe it's a University of Chicago thing
I
going
think
on.
that maybe it wasn't like, I think maybe it got cut weirdly. I don't know, that's just my opinion because like I don't think that Spencer genuinely thinks that Joe is that dumb. I think he meant more like putting it in a more relatable way for him. I don't know. That's just me. I like
Yeah,
Spencer.
that would make more sense. And we saw this episode monsoon season. It was raining finally, you know, maybe get some hardcore rain. They were all huddled under the tent and Steven said his poem.
Part of the thing about them all being under their shelter is that there can't really be any strategy talks going on just
Mm.
because you can't like talk strategy with your allies if everyone else is right there. So I think that Stephen like reciting his poem was just like a way to start a conversation that wouldn't be about the game. Just because like obviously they're there, they're on the island 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for 39 days, and like you can't talk about the game for
Yeah.
that long. Like
Yeah, and raining sucks, you know, it's cold, you're all wet, your clothes are wet, you're all squished under there, it's dark. So maybe, I don't know, like Steven said he memorized a whole bunch of poems before going out there. Maybe this poem could be foreshadowing, like why include it in the edit?
I don't think that there wasn't really anything to foreshadow. I don't think. I think it was more another one of the Stephen is being a nerd. We should all point and laugh at him type things. Just
Oh,
because
true,
like
maybe
they had a lot of
foreshadowing.
shots of like people being like, um,
Yeah, foreshadowing his dud edit finally not being a dud edit, but being first out of the immunity challenge after seconds of holding the ball on the stick. Ah, Steven.
Stephen Fishback. So another thing that happened before the challenge was Tasha and Cass. There's
Bye, bye, bye We should have made that our pun last week instead of just saying bye on.
yeah. Oh well. But so Tasha and Cass, obviously there's some bad blood there. Cass made a lot of enemies on the Brains tribe, and Tasha was one of them. Spencer was another one. I was really excited this episode because I thought that Spencer and Cass would finally be able to mend some fences, but no time.
Yeah, Cass was like saying, sort of putting words into Tasha's mouth, you know, maybe like misinterpreting what the lies sort of Tasha was saying to Cass. You know, I guess the whole tribe, like Cass did it in a really wrong way. She like announced it to the whole tribe, like everyone was sitting there. I mean, they probably don't believe Cass in general because she's not really a credible source. If they watched her season, she nicknamed herself Chaos Cass. Like, I don't know, maybe like pulling people into smaller groups instead of like blatantly announcing it, like you're throwing Tasha under the bus.
I feel like that's one of those things where like they obviously haven't slept well or eaten well in the past like 16 days, and it might just be like it seemed like a good idea at the time, but not really.
Yeah, and then our girl Sierra joins in. I don't know. I feel like she's being too aggressive. She's like saying Savage wanted to get at the big dogs like Joe and Jeremy. I don't know. Say like I don't know. I think she talked too much, like got a target on her back. She should have laid
I
lower.
think
And
that's
like
definitely foreshadowing for the next episode. If they voted off Cass for being so vocal about all that stuff, they're probably gonna do Sierra next. But we can talk about that at the end of the episode when we do our predictions.
yeah, I feel like if she maybe talked to like Steven or Kimmy or like someone like that and said, you know, Savage wanted to get Steven or Kimmy out, like saying Savage wanted you out because Steven already has a thing against Savage, you know. Savage when he was talking to Jeremy was like, is Fishback reliable? Like they have a not bromance going on.
So there was all of that mess before the immunity challenge even happened. So the
Woot
immunity challenge was one that was played last season. There was a ball that you had to balance on a stick while you were also balancing on a balance beam. Lots of balancing. Um, so that challenge to me looks like it would be like not that difficult
woot.
until you started losing your balance. Like if you can just chill there for 10 minutes, it's fine. But if you like make one little mistake, it can be really hard to recover.
Yeah, like Spencer at the end of the challenge, he went crazy, like wobbling back and forth. And like our man Keith, how did he not win? He's so good at ball challenges. He was the second person out, didn't even make it out of round one 10 minutes. Like,
Keith is good at holding balls. But yeah,
but yeah, like this isn't really like a nerve-wracking challenge to watch, but I feel like it'd be really stressful to be doing it actually, like legit.
yeah,
And
and it's not as fun to watch just because there's not very much
yeah.
movement. And generally, like, you can tell when people are about to get out.
Yeah, I like the action challenges better, like relay races, those kind of things is cooler.
Yeah, endurance challenges are kind of eh. But
Yeah.
we were talking about this as the challenge was going on. We thought that Tasha, being the last woman standing and being among challenge beasts like Joe and Spencer, it really wasn't good for her because, like, she spent like the entire time before the immunity challenge talking about how she wasn't as much of a physical threat as Cass was making her out to be. But really, like, she's one of the strongest women out there, I'd say, and
Yeah,
that's not going to be good for her because she obviously has the brains. She was put on the brains tribe. So I feel like her combination of physical strength and mental strength is eventually going to like cause people to target her just because it's a lot easier to target like someone who's physically strong but doesn't strategize. Kind of like Ozzy was because like he was a challenge beast but he wasn't really good at the social game. And like as soon as they win the immunity or as soon as they lose an immunity challenge, it's going to be easy to just like pick them off.
yeah, definitely. And like relating like Tasha with Joe, do you think that him being so amazing, winning this first immunity challenge, do you think that puts a bigger target on his back? After you comment, then I'll comment.
I think that it's kind of like he's only reaffirming what they already know. I feel like it might have been worse for him to purposefully do bad in the challenge because I think people would call BS on it if he like got out early in the challenge and they would know that he was trying to make himself weaker. And in a way that's even more intimidating because it shows again that Joe has like a strategic side to him. So
Oh yeah, that's like basically what I was gonna say. I was thinking like it wouldn't make him a bigger target because like everyone saw last season, everyone knows he's a target. Like he can't hide it. Like he just has to like reaffirm it, and it's better him being safe than sorry. You know, like he knows like when he doesn't have the immunity, he's probably gonna be on like the hot seat. So better have it when he can win it than not have it. Like, so Joey Amazing wins again.
Hashtag namaste, bitches. So, immunity challenge, obviously Joe won. Spencer came in second place for the second time in this challenge. He did not make the best of his second chance, and I was disappointed. So Joe went home with the immunity necklace on, so he was safe. And
yeah, so should we talk about before tribal? Before tribal, like, they were surrounded the water, like, well. It was interesting because the camera shots, it like zoomed in on like the little medallion thing at the top of the well. Like, maybe like this could be a hidden immunity idol.
Yeah, like a la China, hidden in plain sight immunity idol type thing.
Yeah, and
Or
then
it could
also
be
in
that
Philippines.
it's a really nice thing and they wanted to showcase it because people spent time designing it.
Yeah, they just purposely zoom in on that little thing on the top of the water well.
I mean, they've done
Casual.
weirder things. It's Survivor.
Yeah. So yeah, they decide to split the vote between Cass and Sierra. I'm not sure. You know, this is so dangerous to split the vote 5-4, 5 for Cass, 4 for Sierra, because I mean, it'd be 5-4-4 if one person flopped, like your whole thing is screwed up.
I feel like splitting the votes in general is just dangerous just because, like, it, especially when it's more like intricate votes, like, this was just a simple two-way split, but I think that they've done like three-way splits before, and like, all it takes is one person to forget who they're supposed to be voting for, or like one person to be tricked. Like, we were talking during the episode about how Tyson had been tricked into changing his vote when they were splitting Parvati and Russell in Heroes versus Villains, and he essentially voted himself out.
Poor Tyson. That was a sad day.
Yeah, so I didn't really understand it because, like you said, if Cass had had the immunity idol, then it would have gone down to a revote, and I'm not exactly sure if people would be chill with that.
Yeah, so it's like, I don't know, with 13 people, that seems sort of risque. Like, I don't know, it just seems really like, but if you're not the one up in the three that are gonna get voted for, who cares? Split the vote. I mean, it's not you, so I don't
Yeah.
know.
I mean, none of them knew who the last person was, did they? Like, they knew they were doing 5-4 Sierra, but they didn't know that everyone else was voting for what's his face?
Tasha?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I guess people could probably get the hint if like Cass didn't like Tasha this whole episode, so they might get the hint. And it's really interesting. We can talk about at Tribal that everyone wanted to follow the numbers into the majority, and Spencer even says, you know, he wants to save Cass, but he doesn't think he can, so we can segue into Tribal Council.
So, Tribal Council was the largest tribal council ever held in 31 seasons of Survivor because they merged so early, and it was. You finally realized, I think, just how many people there were when you saw them all like cramped into the tribal council area together. Because, like, I think that the camera couldn't even get them all in one shot, which was crazy.
Yeah, it was like so large, so many people, like crazy. It's like history is being made. Like Stephen Fishback said, the game is evolving. Like it seemed like tonight it was more voting based on like majority lines. Like Keith went to the majority, Spencer's went to the majority, and Kelly Wentworth went to the majority. And it wasn't really tribal lines. They sort of just, you want to be in the majority, and like usually the first boot after the merge isn't like a woman, but it's more like one of those buff kind of challenge beast dudes. So definitely, like Steven was saying, maybe some evolution is being created.
So then they started reading the votes, and I think that you could tell pretty early on that the split hadn't been done correctly, or that like people had just decided to stop doing the split and that it would definitely be Cass going home.
We gotta flash back to Sierra and Cass at Tribal real quick.
Oh, flashback.
Throwing it back. Yeah, so I don't know, I just wanted to mention, like, I guess we understand, like, Sierra really likes Cass because they've been together on all of the tribe swaps, so, like, she wanted to, like, have Cass's back, but I feel like Sierra talked too much at Tribal, and then she was like, you guys need to start playing the game. We're here to play to win. She was like, you don't want to be 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th. I felt like that was throwing it back to Hayden when they drew rocks in her season.
I think that it's a very valid point, though. Like, if you're gonna play to win, play to win. Like, if flying under the radar is your strategy, like, that's not gonna work. That's not going to earn you $1 million. And I think that she expected in a game of returning players for there to be more big moves as opposed to like they've had some stuff go on, but nothing that's really like this was a game-changing move.
Yeah, I feel like that kind of strategy, laying low, could like work in the past, but now I don't think so anymore. So now we can do the actual vote.
Anyway, flash forward to what I was saying. It was pretty obvious from the beginning that the split wasn't happening. And there was that random vote for Savage that I still don't entirely understand.
Yeah.
It could just be that Sierra doesn't really like Savage and she wants to like rack up his vote count because that's like something that's shown in like Survivor statistics, like on websites and stuff, like total votes throughout the season.
Yeah, it was really interesting. Sierra voted for Savage, so like they must have known like they wouldn't, like her and Cass wouldn't get enough people to vote for Tasha, so like Wentworth flipped. So only Abby and Cass voted for Tasha. Sierra voted for Savage. I thought it could maybe be like punching him in the gut, like the Outcast twist. So, you know, maybe he'll get voted out because of that. That would be so funny. And like misspelled names. Joe spelled Sierra's name like Sierra. Like, you should know. I don't know. Like in a returning player season, you think you'd know how to spell everyone's name since they had all the pregame like voting in by America, but
I mean,
Joe.
it's better than people spelling PG's name as P.G, but there was also people who spelled Cass with only one S, which I didn't really understand either.
Yeah, so weird. So I guess, you know, they knew the vote wasn't going to work, so some people flopped into the majority. Sierra maybe wanted to get a jab at Savage since they sort of have a feud going on now to get his name on there. Savage is going to be pissed because, like Joe said, he really does play like with his emotions on his sleeve. There's a huge jury tonight, like crazy. History is being made.
Rachel and I were discussing whether or not the jury would be 10 people with the final 3 or 11 people with the final 2. And personally, I think it's going to be 11 people with the final 2. Just because with the final 3, you have so many more opportunities for like ties. Like you could have 5-5-0, 4-4-2.
Yeah, we didn't think the jury. We didn't
Yeah.
think the jury would start this episode because 13, so that means that there'll be like 10 people on the jury if it's a final 3, or 11 if it's a final 2. And then even, yeah, like Alyssa was saying, even numbered juries could cause problems if there's a tie. So it's like a huge jury too, like crazy.
So, predictions for next week. You get to go first, and I know that you made a very, very intricate web of people to figure this out. Rachel and I were talking during school today. She said that she had something all written out so that she could figure out who was going out next with accuracy.
Yeah, so I started that in class, but then I like didn't finish it tonight. So I went with like, I was sort of thinking and then went with the gut sort of reaction. So, I mean, the preview showed like it's going to be a big move next week. Someone's going to try to make that big game-changing move. And so I feel like Sierra's not going to be voted out. Abby's not going to be voted out. Kimmy probably won't be voted out. Like, I feel like Sierra and Abby will probably be more like the swing votes or something like that, because people will want them to use them to vote out a big player like Joe or Jeremy or Savage. So, on that note, I feel like Andrew Savage will be going home next week.
That's what
And
I was gonna say.
Alyssa! He
But
got like 11 confessionals this episode. It was like, I didn't even realize it the first time. And when I rewatched the episode, I was like, why is there so much Savage on my screen? Like, he needs to chill.
there was that one really weird camera angle on Savage where it was like tilted up at him, and that was weird. But I feel like there's definitely enough bad blood with Savage. Like, there are enough people who would be willing to get him out.
Yeah, that's what. He's just gotten like sort of annoying in his edit. Like, dude, we get it. You played college football. You need to like stop whining. Like, you can't hang with the hip young guys. Like, you need to end that dream right now. And it's like at the beginning of the episode when he was talking about how Sierra and Cass flipped on him, he like said F them because they're pieces of bad word insert here. Like, chill. I don't know. That was sort of rude. And like, he just keeps talking about how he made the merge, and he's like, Bion Brothers strong. Why don't you add any girls in there? And then he doesn't like Fishback, like, okay. And then he doesn't like Sierra, and now him and Spencer have a bad thing going on, and it's like, yeah, so I feel like,
I feel like one of the good things about this season is that well, not even this season in particular, but like the later seasons of Survivor, is that like if someone says something about someone within the game, it's just a part of the game. Like in Survivor All Stars, the first one, like it got really like go for the jugular just because like everyone knew everyone else, so it was a lot more personal, I think. And I think the fact that they're willing to separate their personal feelings from like the game is what's really helping them, or in Savage's case, really hindering him.
Yeah, he's playing two like emotions on his sleeve. I mean,
heart on his sleeve. It's not emotions on his sleeve. Get it right.
Oh no.
You're in high school.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like Savage might be on the butt end of this. Like, I don't know. People would be willing to vote him out. I feel like Jeremy wouldn't vote out Steven. He wouldn't vote out like Kimmy. So I feel
he'd be willing to vote out Savage just because that way he'd like give the impression of voting out an alpha male without voting out someone who is physically more intimidating than him.
Yeah, and you keep Joe around for that alpha male thing, and you know one's expendable, but then Jeremy will still have his like shielding. So maybe we'll both be right next week, Alyssa.
I just want to get one prophecy point. I would like to beat Rachel, but
not if we keep saying the same person.
Anyways, as we said in the beginning, thank you so much for commenting. Thank you so much for subscribing. Thank you so much for viewing all of our videos, because we really appreciate it, knowing that we're not doing all of this for nothing. So,
yes, thank you so much. Like, from Survivor fan to Survivor fan, like, we just love talking about it. Like, we love talking to you guys about it. Like, it's just so fun to be able to vent our emotions about the episode and hear what like other people's opinions are and not just our own.
So if you leave us a comment down in the comment section, we're gonna try to start reading our comments in our videos, just because there's not that many of them, and we'd like to respond to you guys and let you know that you're being heard. So we will see you next week. We're probably going to post an announcement about when we're going to do the video, just in case you want to tune in.
Yeah, so hopefully on Friday between like, I don't know, 9:30 maybe, depending. Friday Eastern Standard Time. You can look at the YouTube. Usually like on the homepage it'll tell you like when we post.
Anyways, thanks so much guys. We love you. Good night.
Peace.
Mwah.